Crescent Moon, Midnight in Manhattan, A Romantic Story, USA. Aisha had lived in New York City for 3 years, but it still amazed her every night. The city lights, the noise, the energy, it all felt like a heartbeat she was slowly sinking with. She worked long hours at a small design studio, and on most nights she went home exhausted. But tonight wasn't like most nights. She was attending a charity art event downtown, and she didn't know why she felt nervous. Maybe it was the dress, simple, black, and elegant. Or maybe it was the message she received that afternoon. Hope to see you there tonight. Daniel Walker. The man she'd met 2 weeks ago in a coffee shop when he accidentally spilled latte on her sketchbook. He had the kind of smile that made her forget she should be annoyed. They talked every day since. When she arrived at the event, she saw him immediately. He was wearing a charcoal suit that made him look effortlessly sharp, yet his eyes softened the moment they found her. He walked toward her slowly, like he didn't want to miss a single detail. Aisha, he said, stopping closer than they had ever been. You look like the city made human. She laughed, but her heart was racing. You clean up pretty well yourself. He offered his arm, and she slipped her hand through, feeling a warm spark when their skin touched. It wasn't bold. It wasn't loud. Just a gentle connection that felt deeper than it should. Inside, the hall was glowing with soft golden lights. Jazz music played low. People stood around admiring paintings and crystal sculptures. Daniel leaned down slightly and whispered, "Let me show you something." He led her to a balcony overlooking the city. The cold wind brushed past, but when he stepped closer, she didn't feel cold at all. You know, he murmured, I keep thinking about the day we met. I spilled coffee, and somehow I found something I wasn't even looking for. Her breath caught a little. She wasn't used to someone speaking this honestly. And what did you find? She asked. He took her hand slowly, carefully, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. A connection, he said softly. Something rare. The city below shimmered like a sea of stars. His hand was warm against hers, and their faces were close enough that she could feel the rhythm of his breathing. Aisha looked up at him, her lips almost brushing his. Daniel, she whispered, you're making this very hard to resist. His voice dropped, gentle but full of meaning. Then don't resist. Their lips met in a slow, deep, breath-stealing kiss, soft at first, then warmer as the world faded behind them. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't wild. It was the kind of kiss filled with emotion, promise, and the start of something real. When they finally pulled back, he rested his forehead lightly against hers. I think this is just the beginning, he said. Aisha smiled. I hope so. And in the middle of Manhattan's night sky, 2 people who weren't looking for love found it anyway. After the kiss, neither of them spoke for a moment. The air around them felt warm despite the cold night breeze. Aisha felt her pulse racing, her skin tingling where his hand still held hers. Daniel cleared his throat softly. Come on, he said with a quiet smile. Let me walk you home. They stepped out of the event hall, leaving the golden lights behind. Manhattan at midnight looked alive, yellow taxis, the distant sound of music, streetlights glowing like scattered fireflies. Aisha loved this version of the city. And she loved how Daniel walked beside her, calm, confident, almost protective without trying to be. Their hands brushed again as they walked, and this time she didn't wait, she slid her fingers into his. He intertwined gently, squeezing her hand like he'd wanted that moment for hours. You know, Daniel said, glancing sideways at her, I've had a million conversations with you in my head. Aisha laughed softly. Do I talk a lot in your imagination? Not as much as I listen, he said, giving her that slow, meaningful smile. And I keep noticing things about you. The way you tuck your hair behind your ear when you're nervous. How your eyes light up when you talk about design. The fact you say actually before you disagree with someone. She felt her cheeks warm. You really notice all that? I notice you, he said simply. They stopped at a red crosswalk. The city lights reflected in his eyes. She felt the urge to step closer, so she did just a little. He responded without hesitation, sliding his hand to her waist. Not grabbing. Not pulling. Just touching, with the kind of care that made her chest tighten. You're dangerous, she whispered. He raised an eyebrow. Dangerous. How? Because you make everything feel easy, she said. And that scares me. He leaned in slightly. Aisha, I'm not trying to rush you. I'm not going anywhere. The light turned green. They walked again, still close enough that she could feel the heat of his body. When they reached her apartment building, she hesitated. This is me. For the first time tonight, Daniel looked unsure. I don't want the night to end, he admitted quietly. Aisha stepped closer, her voice soft but steady. It doesn't have to. His breath caught a small, unspoken reaction that sent a slow thrill through her. She wasn't asking him to come up. She wasn't pushing anything forward. She was letting him know she wanted more time with him. Daniel cupped her cheek with his hand, his thumb brushing along her skin. Aisha, he murmured, if I kiss you again right now, I won't want to stop. Then kiss me, she whispered. He did, slow, deep, full of warmth and wanting. A kiss that made her grip his coat just to stay steady. A kiss that felt like they'd known each other longer than 2 weeks. A kiss that promised something real. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, he rested his forehead against hers again. Tomorrow, he said softly. I'm taking you somewhere. No arguments. She smiled. I won't argue. He kissed her one more time, gentle, lingering, then stepped back. Good night, Aisha. Good night, Daniel. She watched him walk away, and he looked back twice. Not once. Twice. Her heart was already surrendering. Aisha woke up the next morning with a smile she couldn't hide. She replayed every moment, the balcony, the walk, his hand on her waist, the way he said her name like it mattered. Just before noon, her phone buzzed. Daniel. Be ready at 6. Wear something comfortable. And bring that sketchbook you love. I'm picking you up. Her heart fluttered. Comfortable. Sketchbook. What was he planning? 6:03 p.m. She heard a knock. Aisha opened the door and felt her breath slip right out of her chest. Daniel stood there in a simple black t-shirt, sleeves hugging his arms just enough to show he worked out, but not enough to show off. His hair was slightly messy, like he'd run a hand through it on the way over. But his eyes, warm and sparkling, were on her immediately. You look incredible, he said softly. She was wearing high-waisted jeans and a light cream sweater, casual but flattering. You said comfortable, she replied, tucking her hair behind her ear. He smiled. I'm glad you listen. They took the elevator down together. The space felt too small, too quiet. His arm brushed hers, then every tiny touch made her pulse react. When the doors opened, he led her outside where a car was waiting. Not a date in a fancy restaurant, she teased. Nope, he said. Tonight's different. The surprise. He drove her to the waterfront, away from the busy streets, into a quieter part of Manhattan where the skyline looked like a painting. When he stopped, she noticed the blanket, a small picnic basket, and a thermos. You planned a picnic, she said, surprised. Not just a picnic. He took her sketchbook and held it gently. I want to see the world the way you see it. Aisha froze. No one had ever said something like that to her. They sat on the blanket, the river shimmering nearby. Daniel poured warm apple cider into 2 cups. For the record, he said, handing her one, I've wanted this since the day I spilled that latte. She laughed, feeling heat rise in her chest. And how long did you rehearse that line? 3 days, he admitted with a grin. Don't ruin this for me. They talked for an hour about childhood, dreams, fears, mistakes. Daniel listened so deeply it made her nervous. But in a good way. At one point, her sweater slipped slightly off her shoulder as she reached for her sketchbook. He noticed. Oh, he definitely noticed. But instead of staring, he reached out gently and fixed it for her. A touch so soft it sent a warm shiver along her skin. You're freezing, he murmured. I'm not, she whispered, because she truly wasn't. You are, he insisted softly, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. His fingers brushed the side of her neck by accident, and she inhaled sharply. He noticed that too. The air thickened between them. The sketch. Draw something, he said. What? Anything. I just want to watch you work. Her cheeks warmed. Nobody watches me sketch. Then I'll be the first. She began drawing the city skyline. She could feel his gaze on her, not intrusive, just present. Admiring. You're amazing, he said quietly. She kept drawing. If you keep talking like that, I won't be able to focus. Good, he murmured. Her hand slowed. Her breath caught. She turned her head slightly, finding him closer than she expected. His face was inches away, his expression serious, warm, full of tension he wasn't hiding anymore. Daniel lifted a hand to her cheek, brushing his thumb gently along her jawline. Aisha, he said softly, tell me to back off, if you want me to. She didn't. She leaned in fast this time. Their lips met, slow, warm, lingering. The kind of kiss that melted everything else away. His hand slid to the back of her neck, pulling her just a little closer. She pressed a hand against his chest, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breathing. When they pulled away, barely an inch apart, he whispered. If this is the beginning. I never want the ending. Her voice was a whisper against his lips. Then don't let it end. The city lights glowed around them as if blessing the moment. You like this type story, so please subscribe my